National Deafblindness Week, Luzete's speech. November is the Deafblindness Awareness Month, and we will have the video made by Luzete, who is Vinicius' mother, a child with congenital deafblindness. Beginning of description. Horizontal colored video with a light-skinned woman, light brown hair, and blonde locks just below the shoulders, brown eyes, thick nose and lips. She is wearing red glasses with thick square frame, golden earring and a short wide-sleeve t-shirt with green, yellow, and pure application in a design of a pair of sneakers. At the bottom, white wall with a rectangular wooden frame and orange flower painting. End of description. Hello, my name is Luzete. I am from the city of Indaiatuba. Indaiatuba is in the countryside of São Paulo. I am the mother of a congenital deaf-blind child, and his name is Vinicius. Today, Vinicius is 13 years old. Vinicius had an early birth. He was born at 32 weeks. He was hospitalized in the neonatal ICU for 65 days. He had some complications before and after birth. What I believe it caused what he has today, which is the deafblindness. There were some failures and negligences in the hospital environment, and the doctors treated him as if he was not going to survive. As I didn't understand much, I was there at the mercy of the doctors. And every day they treated Vinicius as if he wouldn't really survive. But deep down I knew he would survive. During the 65 days I was going to visit him, I looked at him and something told me that he would survive. Finally, after the 65 days, Vinicius was discharged and I brought him home. Then I thought, whoa, what happiness! I'm going to take care of my son and everything will be normal. But within 2 or 3 days at home with him, I realized that his eye was different. This little ball we have, it almost disappeared in the corner of his eye. Then I said, my goodness, how strange. I took Vinicius to the ophthalmologist, and in the first exams that were done, something was already seen not to be normal, so he was referred to a clinic with more reference to make more specific exams, and so they were made. And it was already seen in the first examinations that he had almost total loss of vision, but he had 5% chance to operate one of the eyes and be succeeded. So I started looking for the surgery. I was referred to a hospital that is a reference in the state of São Paulo. He even had the surgery when he was already 6 months of life, but unfortunately it was not successful. In this case, Vinicius had developed a disease called retinopathy of prematurity, which I came to know during the search after he left the hospital, because up until then I hadn't known about this disease. Anyway, I had to deal with this frustration of having a blind son. 3 months later, I started to realize that he didn't follow noises, didn't accompany the sounds, so I looked for help again, seeking to do exams. When he left the hospital, he had the ear test. There was the presence of signal. Then, for me, he heard normal. Thus, in the second exam that was done, it was already given no answer in the both ears, which means he had a bilateral loss. Gee, for me it was very difficult, I said. And now, what will I do? Besides having the problem of total blindness, he was totally deaf. Anyway, I said that God gives us strength and we deal with daily situations, creating strength and courage. It's the courage and the strength that comes from I don't know where, but we learn to develop this one day at a time. I am Vinicius' single mother. When he was 2 years old, I got divorced from his father because we women, I think we are very strong. So his father had that expectation of having the normal son, let's say, and then he couldn't handle the situation. But I found strength. My family was very supportive at the beginning of the separation and it was very difficult. But today we are fine. I can take care of him by myself and have a normal life. By being alone, I had to quit my job at the time, fight for something I could conciliate, taking care of him and working at the same time, because we have to work. You can't live with a benefit, which they have, which is a salary. It's impossible. I am a day cleaner and I am really proud of it. I can work and I love doing what I do. Thanks to that, I can get the basics of everyday life to survive. Vinicius is an extremely beautiful child. He is intelligent. He is all I have. Everything I do is for him. At the age of 3, Vinicius had the implant. There was that expectation of the implant. I was very hopeful. Because after the implant, he would develop speech, orality. But 8 or 9 years of therapy were done with the speech therapist to see if he developed speech. But unfortunately, he did not develop it. So now we are in a process of introducing other means of language and communication so he can communicate with me, with the family, and with the others to have a social interaction. We are introducing some tactile signs from the sign language, from the Brazilian Sign Language. I confess that I have a lot of difficulties to deal with this, to make the signs, to study, because my time is short, but I intend to improve myself because these children and people, they need the help of the other to be able to exist, for us to show them the world. I would like to say that being the mother of a child with deaf blindness is not easy. It's loneliness. Sometimes it's hard to face some things. It's not easy out there. We are judged by something your child does and someone else doesn't understand. In the educational context, I have faced many barriers and difficulties until today. Vinicius has always attended school since his 4th month of life, and there were wonderful people who passed through his life, the teachers. People who didn't even understand about deafblindness seeked to help, took a course to help Vinicius. But I think the deafblindness is little spoken and discussed. People don't understand that it's something very specific which needs qualified professionals. Professionals who know how to work with these children. Today, I know that every child with congenital deafblindness needs an intervener or an interpreter guide. Because these people will present the world and the environment to these children for their development and social coexistence. So, I think there is a lack of awareness of everyone, of schools, of NGOs, of support networks. I think it's necessary to form more professionals because it's rare. It's very rare to have this professional, this availability. I think it's necessary to have public policies focused on this issue so that these people are supported, not only children. When I say child, it's because my son is 13 years old, but I know that there are several types of deafblindness, congenital, acquired, several types that I can't explain, but I think that only through these professionals with specific and specialized qualification that these people will have a life of interaction with other people. She needs the other to exist. So my biggest frustration is for not being assisted during those years of school term. I asked too much for the school. Vinicius needs this, Vinicius needs that, and I didn't find much support in that aspect. So my biggest frustration is at this point. Vinicius hadn't had the possibility of being assisted by an intervener or an interpreter guide, so he could have had a better response. Better development in the educational issue, because my obligation as a mother, I think, is to take care of him and of everything, but I can't handle everything by myself. And I think it's a right and duty of these children, of these people to be at school and be fully supported. I think that's it. If I could ask something for all of them, it would be for people to look more at those people and look at the families too, because the family feels alone and helpless. For example, here in my town, they say that Vinicius is the only child with deafblindness, but we know there are studies which say that might have more children and nobody knows. And often the diagnosis is unknown. That's what happens. I am grateful for the invitation to talk a little bit about Vinicius' history, and I am thankful for the opportunity. Credits: Translation in Libras, Brazilian Sign Language, by Tatiane Bonfim. Portuguese subtitles, by Ana Carolina Toledo. Audio description, by Bianca Peixoto. English subtitles, by Ana Carolina Toledo. Subtitle review, by Laura Ancilotto. Dubbing, by Ana Carolina Toledo. Edition by Fernanda Falkowski.